Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Are you ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
It's a cool fall evening in Keller, Texas. After a long day of work, entrepreneur Greg Williams is getting ready to go to his daughter's middle school choir concert.
Whenever he promised something, it typically happened.
He had no way of knowing then that this was his final day on Earth. From Dallas, Texas, this is Final Days on Earth, Season 3. The Life and Death of Greg Williams. Episode 2, In Cold Blood. I'm your host, Claire Sanema. Thanks for listening. The following episode includes descriptions of a fatal crime scene. Please take care while listening. It's October 12th, 2011, and Greg Williams has a lot on his mind. After years of preparation, Greg and his wife Michelle are about to close on their dream house. It's a large home with plans for a custom pool and plenty of room for their growing family. Here's one of Greg's longtime employees and close friends, Steve McSwain.
I mean, he was really excited, couldn't wait to, basically move in.
In the meantime, Greg and Michelle rented a house in a quiet neighborhood in Keller, Texas. A suburb of Fort Worth, Keller is a small town with about 40,000 people. It's the kind of place where violent crime is rare, and the local police don't have a lot of experience investigating murders.
Did it seem like a safe place, a nice place to live?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a gated community, and I would never dream something like that would happen in that neighborhood.
It's a Wednesday, and Greg has been working hard for his computer company like usual. This is Greg's sister.
My brother, he was a workaholic.
I was over at the house, and, regular work day. Everything was normal, nothing to be concerned about.
For some reason, Greg hasn't been feeling well, but he powers through. A third-degree black belt, Greg prides himself on his toughness. The kind of guy who doesn't even take an aspirin for a headache. So even though he's not feeling great, he's committed to keeping his evening plans.
I had a choir concert at school, and my dad had promised to make it.
That's Greg's daughter, Taylor. As we covered in episode 1, Taylor had lived with her dad and stepmom until allegations of drug use upended her young life. Michelle had accused Taylor of hiding everything from weed to prescription drugs around the house. And the final straw was when Michelle claimed Taylor poisoned her coffee with a heavy dose of painkillers. After that, Taylor moved back in with her mom, but her dad made a point to stay involved in her life.
And after the show, I ran up to my dad, said hi to him, gave him a kiss on the cheek, and then he said that, hey, I want to hang out some more, but I really don't feel good, so we're going to go home. And he gave me a kiss and a hug and told me he loved me, and him, Michelle, and my sister left.
This is Taylor's mom, Kathy.
And that was one thing about Greg. It didn't matter what he had planned. Ever since the day she started school, he always went to every event that she ever did.
On the way home from the choir concert, Greg and Michelle pick up Taco Bueno for dinner and drive back to Keller. After eating dinner, Michelle turns on the TV in the living room for their 4-year-old daughter, who falls asleep on the couch around 9:30. Michelle gets in bed with Greg a little while later, and they talk about all the excitement with the new house.
That's the first house they were actually purchasing. Everything else had been lease or rental.
They're slated to go to the bank in the morning to finalize the paperwork. And at 1 a.m., they turn on Netflix and try to go to sleep. But just a few hours later, the peaceful night would turn into a horrible nightmare.
Netcom 911, where is the emergency?
When Michelle calls 911, she's so frantic on the phone, it's hard for the operator to understand what's going on.
Ma'am, I can't understand you. Can you take a deep breath and tell me what's going on?
It takes almost a full minute for Michelle to give something as simple as her address.
I'm at 1410 Davis Avenue.
When she finally stops hyperventilating, Michelle tells the 911 operator a tragic story. She says her husband was shot by an intruder.
My husband was shot. Somebody was in the house. Bleeding really bad. He was shot in the head.
And that's not all. Michelle says the intruder also attacked her, striking her in the head with a blunt object.
I got hit really hard.
After getting her story out, Michelle finally gives the 911 operator her name.
Michelle, can you go out front?
And while continuing to scream into the phone, she says her daughter is sleeping in the living room.
My little girl's on the couch. She's asleep.
4 Keller Police Department officers were just minutes away from Jacob Avenue and raced to the location.
Oh my God.
As the officers approached the reported home invasion scene, Michelle was standing outside, fully dressed with makeup on, still shouting into her phone. By the time the officers got to her, Michelle was crouching in the fetal position and, according to the officer's report, screaming hysterically. When they finally calmed her down, Michelle told the officers what happened. This is one of our producers reading from the police report.
I asked Michelle what happened, and she stated that someone was in her home and had shot her husband and struck her in the face. She was asleep on the couch and heard a noise and went into her bedroom to see what it was, and then she was struck in the face. I did observe a large welt under Michelle's right eye, approximately 2 inches long and a half an inch swollen and red. Michelle stated she only saw one person in the house. Her husband was asleep, but had grabbed for his gun. Michelle stated the person then ran out of her master bedroom door. Her 4-year-old daughter was asleep on the couch, and the back door was open.
When the officers got inside to secure the scene, the first thing they noticed was how loud the television was. They noted that it was blaring throughout the entire house. Here again is Greg's sister.
Greg slept with the TV on, and it would be loud at times, but he wouldn't have made it so loud that it would disturb Michaela.
Michaela is Greg and Michelle's daughter. She gave me permission to use her name in this podcast. After documenting the volume, the officers switched off the TV. According to their report, they spotted Michaela asleep on the couch and carried her out of the house in their arms. Keller Police Detective Tom Barnett was on call that night and headed over from the station. When he arrived on the scene, he found Michelle sitting in a nearby ambulance, refusing treatment to her head wound. His report stated that Michaela sat beside her mom and was crying. While the little girl didn't appear to be injured in any way, she was understandably upset. "Do you have anyone who can come get her?" the detective asked. Michelle had 3 adult children from previous relationships, and she called her 20-year-old daughter who lived nearby. Once that was settled, Detective Barnett took possession of Michelle's iPhone. He noted it was smeared with blood. The officers asked Michelle to elaborate on the intruder's description, but all she could recall was that it was a man with a thick country accent. She hadn't seen the man's face or noted his clothing, and she didn't recognize his voice. Michelle said she couldn't remember him saying anything specifically, though she was insistent that he had a country accent. With so many unanswered questions, alternate theories started forming. And even from the get-go, the 911 operator asked a pointed question.
Did he do it to himself? No.
Michelle was adamant that it wasn't a suicide, and she insisted that there was a man in the house.
From the makers of Rice-A-Roni comes Macaroni, a creamy, delicious boxed mac and cheese that's not just good, it's cheesy good. Macaroni will please even the pickiest eaters with 2 magnificent flavors that will melt your heart. Creamy cheddar and creamy white cheddar. If you love cheese, you'll love Macaroni by the makers of Rice-A-Roni. If you don't love cheese, well, that's just unbelievable. Try Macaroni. It's cheesy good.
Macaroni, the San Francisco treat.
Hey, it's Claire Sanema, host of Final Days on Earth. Have you ever signed up for something and then totally forgotten about it? I just learned that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now, I'm saving money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/finaldays today. That's rocketmoney.com/finaldays. rocketmoney.com/finaldays.
BizChair.com, your one-stop shop for premium commercial furniture that blends quality with affordability. From ergonomic office chairs to durable restaurant seating, we cater to diverse industries including corporate, medical, hospitality, and education. With over 20 years of experience, we offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high-traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at BizChair.com to transform your business.
As Detective Barnett entered the house, he started taking pictures of the scene. At first blush, it didn't look like a typical home invasion. There was no sign of a struggle, and nothing appeared to be missing. There were expensive electronics, including a laptop, an iPad, and Greg's cell phone, in plain view. As the detective made his way to the primary bedroom, he discovered Greg Williams' lifeless body. It appeared Greg was laying in bed, on his back, when he was shot in the head at close range. The gunshot wound was to his right temple. On the opposite side of the room, a handgun, a spent shell casing, and a wrench were on the carpet by an open patio door. Michelle told authorities that the killer fled using that specific door. Michelle's prescription medication, including pain pills, were on the nightstand next to the couple's mortgage paperwork. Detective Barnett took a closer look at the open door, specifically the pry marks on the lock. He snapped 12 pictures, getting various angles, before moving into the bathroom. There were 2 sinks, and it was obvious which one was Michelle's from all the hair products. While Greg's sink was dry, Michelle's had fresh drops of water in the basin. The detective continued his meticulous work, documenting everything in the house, from the trash cans to the light fixtures. When police are working an active crime scene, they don't always know where the biggest clues are hiding. The best investigators turn over every stone and sort through them all later. As the detective moved into the backyard, he spotted a flathead screwdriver laying on the concrete by a wood pile and took several photos of it. Then he moved on to a wrought iron gate with a dummy lock on it. The lock was real, but it wasn't engaged. The detective called for a canine unit to sniff out signs of an intruder. Then he went back to the patio door, the one Michelle said the killer used to flee the scene. He narrowed his lens on the door lock and took more photos. In the living room, there were blankets, a stuffed animal, and a purple pillow on the couch where their daughter had been sleeping. 3 half-painted pumpkins decorated the kitchen counter, which was strewn with other items of domestic life: half-used candles, an open bag of pistachios, and Michelle's purse and keys. In the garage, the detective found 2 matching black Mercedes sedans, his and hers. In the laundry room, a clean load of clothes was in the dryer. And in the office, a laptop was still open to the calendar listing for Taylor's choir concert. Something must have made Detective Barnett go back to the primary bedroom, because he circled back to document it again. This time, he opened the bathroom drawers underneath Michelle's sink. Among other items, he found 2 containers of Clorox bleach wipes.
How did you find out that something had happened at Greg and Michelle's house?
I'm going to work around 8 o'clock that morning, like I always did. And I drive up to the gated community, and there are news crews, police officers. I mean, the neighborhood is full of activity. And so I actually happened to be on the phone with my wife, and I said, wow, something's going on at Greg's subdivision here. There was a hill that you came over, and then you saw their house. So literally as I came over that hill, I see crime scene tape around Greg's house. Police officer came out to meet me, and they questioned me, what was I doing there, and they wouldn't tell me any information, where Michelle was or anything. And so my wife and I spent the morning. We thought that they'd taken her to a hospital, and we literally called around, drove around trying to find her.
Here again is Greg's sister.
It went viral where she said intruders broke in.
The local news had a field day.
The death of a Keller man who was shot and killed Thursday morning is under investigation by homicide detectives. Michelle Williams said an intruder broke into her home, hit her in the face, fatally shot her husband Greg, and then ran out of the home through a back door. The couple's 4-year-old daughter, who was asleep on the couch at the time, never woke through the entire ordeal.
The news traveled fast, reaching all of Greg's family members the same day. This is his first wife, Kathy.
Normally, I would always get up and watch the news in the morning, but that morning, a friend of mine needed a ride to work.
Instead, Kathy found out in a phone call.
Honestly, I was numb for a long time. I was in shock.
Still absorbing the news herself, Kathy had to figure out how to tell Taylor that her father had died.
We're walking out of the apartment. She goes, Mama, what's wrong? You're white as a ghost. Come on, baby, let's just go. And I'm just, Mama, what's wrong? Mama, what's wrong? And I just had to tell her. I had to blurt it out. Honey, your father was killed this morning.
I don't think I believed it at first, and it took a while for it to really set in.
It's hard to wrap your mind around death, no matter what age you are. And you were so young when your dad died.
Yeah, I think at that point I was 13.
Greg's sister was also in shock over the news.
My big brother, he's stronger than life. I'm not going to lie, I wanted to drive over there. I couldn't believe it.
Police spend hours at the house before they can clear the scene and release it back to the family. The last photo Detective Barnett took was a wedding portrait of Greg and Michelle from just 3 years earlier. Detective Barnett noted both the unusual nature of the crime scene and the conflicting versions of Michelle's story in his report. I found Michelle's account of events was inconsistent with the evidence at the scene, he wrote.
You don't know who it was that hit you? No. Okay, do you know what they look like, if they were male or female? Oh my God. I'm not bad. Do you know what hit you in the head? I don't know. Did they run away? Yeah, he went out the bedroom door. Do you know anybody that would try and get into your house?
On the next episode of Final Days on Earth, the life and death of Greg Williams. Michelle gives the police a killer story.
You have to be honest with me and tell me anything else that's going on, any other details that you can think of, because basically what information we're getting right now doesn't match up with the scene.
I did not hurt my husband. I did not cover at the scene.
Final Days on Earth is produced in Dallas, Texas for Rebel Studios. Each episode is reported and written by me, Claire Sanema, and Susan Passoni. Original theme music composed and performed by Riley Simmons. Additional music licensed from PremiumBeat.com is Bending Truth and A Thin Line. Special thanks to Kathy Williams, Taylor Williams, Michelle Fletcher, and Stephen McSwain for talking to me in this episode. If you have any information about the cases I cover, please get in touch through my website, finaldaysonearth.com. If you want to support this show, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening right now.